What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to G-Ball Vision. Thank you for stopping in. Today we have an exciting unboxing to dig into for you. Before we get started, double check and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I'd love to have you here. And before you head out, do me a huge favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Really helps. Push the video out there so more people have a chance to check it out. And feel free to let me know down in the comments what you are carrying in your pockets today. Love hearing from you guys down there. You guys are doing a killer job of the EDC updates down in the comments. So huge shout out to Kizer for sending this in. I just took this out of the mailer and I'm pretty excited. I don't know that I have any individual videos of this exact knife up on the channel, but now we will. And it's a model that I kind of forgot about. I do own one. It's going to be a different version, I believe, but we have our standard Kizer packaging here, a sticker, microfiber cloth, and paperwork, of course. Then we have our knife, and we have some extra hardware down here. So what we are looking at is a new release, new version of the Kizer Cormorant. And this knife about a year and a half ago really made some waves in the knife community. Just because of it being a button lock, and then you add in all the forms of deployment with this thing, the very useful low drop point style of blade. It's a very modified blade shape. Some people might say it's a modified sheep's foot. I more or less call this just a modified drop point, basically, because of all this. But if you wipe all this out, you basically just have a drop point blade. But it is a very unique blade shape, and I love this little cant down to the tip. It's a perfect place to get up on that tip with your pointer finger and do some more precise type cuts if need be. Now, the steel we are going to be looking at on this particular one here is going to be 154 cm, as you can see there. And then we have a beautiful satin finish on this guy. And it looks like it's going to be a belt satin on the primary and the flats. So it really looks good. If that had a hand satin on the flats, this would have an even better look. But I think this is going to be, more of an affordable, like a very affordable option coming from Kizer. I love that they do this real fine jimping up this little ramp and on this flat here. It's perfect to lock in here and lock in on top of the ramp if need be. Nice little sharpening choil there. You have 4 different, or you could do technically more. You have a slow roll, a thumb flick, you have a reverse flick, and then all the different stuff you can do with a front flipper, whether you want to do the index rollover, as I call it, the thumb rollover, you can do the reach around, and then you have the rear flipper too. So you have a lot of different deployment options, and I believe this is going to be not a standard plunge lock. We don't see a plunge system in there, and I think Kizer calls this their Trek lock. I believe that's what it's called. Don't hold me to it though. And then for our handle material, we are looking at a G10 handle with a frag pattern. Some people might yell and scream and say that's not frag. To me, it is. But it's a frag or squared. It's a textured G10, right? And that's going to provide a lot of grip on this thing. We do have open construction. We do have some steel liners in there. A couple of standoffs. We have Kizer's nice deep carry clip. It's nice and simple. It is recessed along with the screws, and it's also going to be left-hand friendly as well. And one thing I can say is the action on this is really good as far as the deployment. It's a very satisfying open on this thing for all forms of deployment. You really got to mean to flick this thing out with the rear flipper, the thumb flick. It's got a nice stout style of opening. They have really done a phenomenal job with tuning these different styles of button locks. Now, the top liner lock and those types of button locks, they're a little bit different story. Those have a real detent in them, but the ones that don't have a true detent similarly to this guy here. They have done a fantastic job at really honing in on the deployment and making it a lot more satisfying than, say, a year and a half ago. It is head and shoulders above what it used to be. Now, let's go ahead and we'll take a look at this thing and see what it looks like in the pocket. We'll get our Issuing Stitches Hank out here and give this a little look-see. And because of that texture, that is also with the clip and the retention on the clip, mixed with that texturing on the handle, it's going to provide a lot of grip. So this thing isn't going to be moving around in the pocket. It's going to carry nice and deep. You won't see much of this poking out of the pocket at all. Maybe like an 1/8 of an inch, if that, maybe a 1/16. Not much at all, but for the people who like deep carry, that's going to be nice. And then, like I said, with that texturing and the retention on the clip, that is going to give you a lot of retention altogether. Now let's see how this thing cuts. We got 154 cm, we got a nice satin finish blade. It should glide right through material very nicely. And like we've said over the course of the last several months or longer, Kizer just continues to, let's just say they continue to kill it. Every company is going to have a blunder or an issue here and there, or a few knives out of a run that have an issue, and that's a given. But Kizer has some of the best customer service in the game, and they also have some of the best quality control in the game as well. And they continue to push the envelope and innovate these knives, come out with different locks. They use a ton of blade steels, different blade steels, and that's one thing I love, that they're not afraid to try different things out, where a lot of companies, we won't name names, but a lot of companies just stick with kind of the same old thing, where Kizer is using, I bet, close to 10 different steels over the last year. I bet they've used 10 to 12 different steels, from their most affordable model to their most expensive model. They've used a ton, probably more than anyone, or right up there with the likes of Spyderco. I bet Kizer and Spyderco are the two most versatile companies when it comes to different steel choices. So one thing I am interested in seeing is how this lock holds up under some duress here. So let's give this a couple of taps. We did look at centering. I didn't mention anything about it, but it is nicely centered up. There's very little tolerance in there. No tolerance for air, basically. So that is nicely centered. It looks good. As far as any lock movement or lock rock, there is none. Up and down, side to side, there's no pivot lashing either. And because this is a button lock, we don't typically worry about detent lash because there's no detent. And typically you have a little bit of movement in there with button style locks, but this is pretty damn good. So let's see how this thing holds up under a couple of tests here. And that is good. That would have probably done it in right there. And we'll do one more for good measure. It is locked out. We'll do one here in the center, and one there at the tail end, and that is very good news. Now, I do have an older Cormorant. This is probably one of the first Cormorants to ever come out. That one is in 3V, and I believe it was a White Mountain Knives exclusive Cormorant. This thing, if this had different micarta, I would still be, I still love the design. I'm just not a huge fan of this micarta and the pattern that's done on the micarta. I wish they would have just went with something like their normal green or normal black and just kept it all smooth. But I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it an exclusive for White Mountain and just give it a different look. But this one's coming in 3V, and you can see here, it is all, for all intents and purposes, this came out well over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. But you can see everything has pretty much remained the same. I don't see any differences. If we flip it over here, we don't see any differences here on this side either. We do see that there's no maker's mark on the new one. Here on the old one, we do have the maker's mark there, but we don't have the maker's mark, so everything pretty much has remained the same. Now that's interesting. Look here, you just have the logo, which is what I would prefer. But now with these new ones, you see that they put Kizer back on there. So very interesting. Basically, as far as the design goes, they haven't changed anything that I can see here. But other than a few aesthetic things, everything still looks pretty much the same. I just thought maybe this area here looked different, but it doesn't. It's the same. This one just has a little bit more use on it, of course. But yeah, the Cormorant, if you're looking for that affordable, very fidgety style of EDC knife, this is a great option. You know, if they've went back, and which they have, I have not had a Kizer fail a lock test, no matter what lock we're talking about, whether it's their regular button locks, these style, crossbar, liner, frame lock, you name it, they have all been very solid over the last year or so, maybe even a little bit longer than that. But this is a good mid-sized knife. It's got a lot of capabilities with that nice edge and that pokey tip. You got 154 cm, which is a fantastic EDC steel. And then you got all them various deployment options. Just a great little offering from Kizer. You guys will have to let me know, what do you think of the new Cormorant here? Or what do you think of the Cormorant period? I love hearing from you guys. What do you think of Kizer, and what do you hope to see from Kizer here in the future? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. I always appreciate everyone. It really helps push the video out there so more people have a chance to check it out. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the little bell. I'd love to have you here. We release videos just like this one every single day. I'll throw up a couple of new videos. Go check one of them out. Have yourself an awesome day. Thanks again for watching. I will catch you on the next one.